Me and my girlfriend have been having some serious issues. I asked my girlfriend to move out a couple of weeks ago because I didn't feel like she respects me or my house. And I feel frequently taken advantage of. I bought a house by myself a couple of years ago when I was partnered in a larger business. I didn't recommend we break up, it just took some space so she could shoulder some of her own responsibilities financially to see what it actually takes to be a fully financially responsible person. My mortgage is $2,300 and I work from home, so my utilities like the power I cover myself. I've got a car and a small loan I'm paying off. All in all, my bills are roughly $4,500 more. Since she moved in, maybe like $400, $800, not including business expenses, give or take a couple hundred depending on utilities. Before she moved in, she said she could afford to give me $600 a month, $150 a week. I even said I'd take $500 if she could do it all at once. I'm legit going to use this money to take care of her. And that includes absolutely everything: food, utilities, Zaza I get for myself. I make enough to get by, but not enough to take care of someone else. 100%, maybe like $65,000 after taxes. It's my first year as a solo business owner, and I've still not filed my taxes, so can't say 100%. But either way, I still drive DoorDash in my shitty little 3-cylinder gas saver when I'm not busy. I work 40, 60 hours a week regularly, but I love running my own business. Back to the point, she hasn't given me anything in the past 2 months, and she even took a flight to go visit family. And that was cool and everything. But when I recommend she got her own place again, she started throwing stuff and just screaming. There was some minor damage to 2 of the walls, a few holes from picture frames, and then she threw my pasta roller and put a huge dent in the hardwood floor. I'm not saying her mental health is more important than my house, but after throwing several smaller objects and was slowly grabbing larger, I tried to stop her by grabbing her hand, which I think I shouldn't have done now. And this 110-year-old girl started punching me in the face. She hit me 4 times really quick before I let go. For reference, I'm 5'9" and 190 c's. And I'm in great shape, and I've never been more shook up by someone hitting me. I just wanted her to stop throwing my stuff. I lost it. I backed away screaming, "What the frick, you actually just hit me?" I started screaming such nasty things while I was angry. How her best friend is freaking trashy. How I wanted her out that freaking instant. How lazy and ungrateful she was. How she needed freaking anger management. And how her parents didn't finish raising her. And when she told me I was being crazy, I realized I indeed was being freaking crazy. And stormed off downstairs in my office to be alone. I was extremely upset that I had lost my temper, but was shocked that she had hit me as well. I was going through it emotionally. Some backstory on the friend. They're constantly going out weekly and drinking or day tripping like weekly. And they've worked together and have been fired from multiple jobs together, both of them, for drinking on the job. And I was hyping her up to look for a new job because she hated her current one so much. Her friend got fired from it already. And she took a minimum wage job where her friend makes like $20 an hour as the manager. I'm cool with having fun. I just can't get my head around going out with friends when she's so broke she doesn't even have the funds to afford new windshield wiper blades for her absolutely destroyed windshield. She refuses to replace. But that's just my priorities. The next day there was a sorry card and some flowers. Nothing was said about it for another 24, 32 hours. Until I was at the gym and she asked me if I was just going to ignore it. I told her I was waiting for her to give it to me so we could talk, and I got home. And I came home to the card ripped up and the flowers in the trash instead. I pulled it out and the card literally just said, "I'm really sorry, I love you so much." I pulled the flowers out because I thought they were nice. We talked for a bit and things calmed down a tad. Communication has been all right for a week or so. Today rolls by and the same thing happens. She didn't give me any money last Friday per agreement. Also, I have to force her to do chores. And she's got an attitude about it the whole time. I literally put all of her clothes away because they were just thrown all over the guest room, so she'd sleep in there tonight. So, today we make plans to go to the store after she got back from the gym. Today at 12, she texts me she doesn't want to go to the store and it makes her anxious. And she will just send me some money at 1:50 p.m. And that her and her friend are at lunch. Same friend I don't like. I told her that I had just wanted to spend some time with her because I only needed to grab a bag of protein. It's my before-bed sweet treat and helps me hit my macros. Also, I had to grab more at some point this week. And that I was only really going so she could grab some stuff for herself. I meal prep and make an extra when I cook and give her a plate fresh. But I meal prep, so it's every other day or every few days, depending on what I make, because she was complaining she was hungry the day before, and there was nothing to eat, and that I wasn't going to spend that time by myself shopping for both of us, when I have over 2 weeks worth of protein, veggies, and carb sources for myself at the house. She just replied, LMA, oh really? And I asked her what she thought was so funny. At this point, it's like 4 p.m. now, and she's posting photos of her and her friend's family. And some friends all play Catan and drinking. And I saw that and got more annoyed. She told me I was being selfish. I snapped back. It's not like I was waiting to hang out with you all morning, push back work on her day off, but she'd literally rather go play games with her friends drinking than hang out with me. And she's got to work with them tomorrow. Then I also reminded her that she hasn't given me anything towards any bills for over 2 months and should get her own place. And she might be a little more grateful of the selfishness I have for myself. She left for the gym and came back 8 hours later, and I just cleaned the guest room out and asked her to sleep in there. I'm so upset to be in this position, I feel like I'm going to lose a friend, but I honestly cannot let someone take advantage of me. And on top of this, our intimacy life is also almost non-existent as of late. This girl shaved one leg and said it was too hard to get the razor through the long hair, so she just left the other leg unshaved. It's been almost a month of that alone. I have mad allergies, and we have 3 animals in the house, so I'm regularly drawing from my face, and if I spit in the toilet or in public, she reminds me how freaking disgusting I am. Or if my breath stinks, she will be like, damn, babe, stop talking to me. And legit, I swear she will just say it to get me to stop talking. I just don't know what to do, legally. I never had her sign a lease or anything. And I talked to her old roommates, and surprise, she's not allowed to move back in. I know I'm far from perfect, and she says asking where she is mad controlling. And I feel like it's also just common curiosity to let your significant other of over a year who you live with to let you know if you're going to be gone for 5 hours. I love her, but between the hitting, lack of motivation, the awful white trash friends, should I just get her out of here? Am I a complete jerk? I felt like I was asking the bare minimum. Thanks for reading. I spent 2 hours writing this garbage, and I know I'm an awful writer, so sorry for that update. I guess she signed a lease for an apartment this morning and will be moving in on the 1st. She asked to stay in the guest room, but fingers crossed, she's out next week on the 1st. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Call a non-emergency police number to ask what you can do legally to get her out of the house. Be sure to mention the property damage and that she has no involvement in bills, lease, rental agreement, etc. As for the relationship, you should end it. You don't hold the same values and she hit you. Full stop. I do not care that she is a woman. She hit you several times. If one of your friends came to you and told you all the things you wrote here, what would your advice be? Stay in that relationship and ignore all the red flags, or get away from an hurtful relationship. Comment 2. As soon as she hits you, it should be over. Next time she is out, change the locks and put all her stuff outside. Make sure you have a camera outside to record any damage she does. Call the police. If you live somewhere where you have to give her an eviction notice, do that instead. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around after my last post. I know it was a lot to take in, and I appreciate the support. So, here's what's been going down since then. After the whole blow-up, things got really tense at home. My girlfriend, let's call her Jess, was walking on eggshells, and I was still fuming. We barely spoke, and when we did, it was like we were strangers. It was clear that something had to give. Remember how I mentioned Jess had taken a flight to visit family? Well, turns out she had been planning more than just a visit. She had been scouting locations because she knew our situation was unsustainable. She surprised me by announcing that she had signed a lease for an apartment. She asked if she could stay in the guest room until she moved in on the 1st. I agreed, figuring it was only a week away, and it would give us both some much-needed space. But here's the twist. Jess's new place fell through at the last minute. Something about the previous tenant not moving out on time. So there we were, stuck in this awkward limbo. She had no place to go, and I didn't want to kick her out on the street. We had a long, hard talk about our finances and our relationship. I laid it all out, how I felt taken advantage of and disrespected. Jess broke down, admitting she had been irresponsible and selfish. She confessed that she'd been scared of taking on full financial responsibility, and that it was easier to rely on me. We came to a compromise. Jess would stay until she found a new place, but she had to contribute financially. We agreed on a reduced amount of $300 a month, since she was only staying in the guest room. She also promised to help out more around the house and to respect my space and belongings. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though. Jess's friend, the one I'm not a fan of, kept stirring the pot. She'd called Jess, inviting her out, tempting her with the life she used to have. Jess was torn, wanting to prove she could change, but also missing her old habits. One day, I came home early from a DoorDash shift to find Jess and her friend in the middle of a day drinking session. I was livid. We had a huge confrontation, with her friend getting all up in my face, telling me I was controlling Jess's life. I told her friend to leave, and after some shouting, she did. Jess was apologetic, but it was clear her friend's influence was a problem. We had another heart-to-heart, and Jess agreed to distance herself from that toxic friendship. It was a tough decision, but she knew it was necessary for our relationship and her personal growth. Things started to improve. Jess found a job at a local coffee shop, and she was actually keeping up with her end of the deal. She was contributing to the household, and we were getting along better. It was like we were rediscovering each other, but this time with clearer boundaries and expectations. Our intimacy life even started to pick up again. Jess made an effort, and I tried to be more understanding of her quirks, like the leg shaving incident. We were laughing about it one night, and it felt like we were finally moving past the resentment. But then, another curveball. Jess's car broke down, and she didn't have the money to fix it. She was relying on rides from me and her new coworkers. I could see the stress was getting to her, and I didn't want her to lose her job because of transportation issues. So I made an offer. I'd help her with the car repairs, but in exchange, she had to take over the full $600 monthly contribution once she was back on her feet. Jess agreed, relieved, and grateful. It felt like a fair trade, and it was a step towards her being more independent. Now, we're in a weird place. We're not exactly a couple, but we're not just roommates either. There's this delicate balance we're trying to maintain. Jess is looking for apartments, and I'm helping her out when I can. It's not ideal, but it's better than where we were 3 months ago. As for me, I'm still running my business and doing DoorDash on the side. It's hard work, but I'm proud of what I've built, and having Jess contribute has eased the financial strain a bit. My BF blocks me for winning awards and being top student. So I plan to dump him, but he begs for counseling and I agree. If he stops being insecure about my success and ambitions. Hello, Redditors, I am using a throwaway account because people in my circle know my main. A little background for context. I, 21-year-old female, am in a relationship with my boyfriend, 22-year-old male, and have been with him for almost 2 years now. We both met 2 years ago at a class we both registered to take and became project buddies. I asked him out since I thought he was a nice guy. He said yes, and we started dating. We had our ups and downs, as couples usually do, but we worked through the downs, or so I thought. I have always been an academically above-average student ever since I was a kid. Where I am from, students who score the highest grade in class get the top student award in the class every year, and I have gotten 2 awards in the past 2 years. My boyfriend, on the other hand, has had a few exams he needed to retake in the next semesters. I've always helped him out with assignments, not actually do them for him, by sharing material when he asks. I thought we were in a good place, because I never bring up anything about our college work when we meet. We usually talk about past stories or movies or hobbies, etc. A few months ago, One of my boyfriend's friends joked about my boyfriend having a star student as his girlfriend. I didn't quite understand what he meant by that, but I could tell my boyfriend was clearly upset. I asked him if something was wrong, but he brushed it off, saying he was not feeling well because of the weather. I asked again, but he gave the same response, so I left it there. A month ago, my finals got over and the exams were just brutal. I had a very hard time to get my assignments done, and then study for the finals for nearly 2 months. My friends, 7 girls, not sure if this would help, were discussing on how it would be refreshing to take a day to cool off the stress after the finals. I was also invited, and we started planning to go on a day's trip, just us girls. The plan involved us having brunch together and then catching a movie at the nearest mall. I told my boyfriend about this, but he didn't really mind anything I said. I thought he was stressed about his exams, so I did not disturb him. My boyfriend had some more exams to take from his previous semesters, so he had another week or so of exams to be done at that point. I called my boyfriend after the trip to ask him what he was doing and how his day was. He responded with a sigh. I asked if he was okay. He said I rubbed it on his face that I had a good time with my friends while he was struggling to study for his exams. I asked him what happened, and he said that I was flaunting how smart I was and how low I thought of him. He also added that his friends always called me a star student and how he was not qualified to be my boyfriend. I was dumbfounded because I never knew anything about this. He disconnected the call and blocked me everywhere. It has been 2 weeks and he hasn't gotten back to me. I don't know what to do from here. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Update: thank you all for making time to read my post. I did not expect to reach so many people, and it only took me 50+ people to let me know I was just stupid in this situation. I talked to my friends about this a few hours ago. I never told them anything the last 2 weeks because I just wanted to wait for him to come back and then have a conversation. One of my friends, A, pulled out her phone and showed me the chat between my ex-boyfriend and her almost 6 months ago. Brief backstory. I have always wanted to be a researcher in my field, and A had similar interests in academics like I did. We both were looking into universities to do a master's and then possibly a PhD. I'm an electrical engineering student, so it has been common in my field to go work in companies and not pursue higher studies. I told my ex about this and also told him how I could get full scholarships with paid stipend for my studies abroad and not burdening my parents to spend a lot. I have been working to apply for university since then. He initially said he was happy for me, but insisted on how researchers get paid less and to get a job for better financial benefits. I told him I was aware of it, but it had always been my dream to be a researcher. My ex had texted my friend A, asking for further details about this prospect around the same time. The conversation seemed like he was asking her to convince me how a desk job would be a better option, but my friend straight out refused to do so. A didn't tell me because I had been working on applications and didn't seem to have taken a detour or made any decisions to stop the application preparations. I was devastated when I read the messages. I never expected him to reach out to her and try and make her stop me from my plans. He told me how amazing it was to have a girlfriend who was smart and kind. It's like, I don't know this person anymore. I feel like I was just a trophy for him to show off and try and control me into doing things his way. As most of the commenters suggested, I have planned to just leave things here. I'm taking this as the best outcome because I have no idea what else he would have done. I will be very sad, but I have no choice but to move on. I have been reading the comments and I will respond to them. I really appreciate the time you all have taken to read my post. I will update you if anything else happens. Update 2. Probably the last update. Firstly, I didn't think the post would attract so many Redditors. I'm very grateful that you all took the time to read my long post and respond to it. As most of you here said, my ex called me a few hours ago asking to meet me. I said I didn't want to and that I had enough of his behavior. I didn't ask him the reason for his outburst. Trust me, I really wanted to, but I held back. But he ended up telling me his side of the story. He said his friends were just joking in the beginning, and he didn't think much of it, but as time went, he got annoyed and frustrated. Then, I asked him why he asked my friend A to talk me out of my career prospects. He wanted me to stay with him. and was afraid I might leave him when I go abroad or get into a top university in my country. The answer he gave sounded ridiculous. I know it's rude, but he always says these kinds of things to get me to do what he wants. To me. I told him if he felt that way, he should have talked to me and not gone behind my back to my friend. I also mentioned the chronic ghosting he did without actually talking things out. He tried giving me reasons, but I just didn't want to believe them. I told him it was only fair if we ended our relationship and moved on. He said he was sorry and wouldn't do it again. Again, it was the same pattern, and I didn't want to fall for it. I had to think a lot to get hold of the pattern and gaslighting he did. It was hard, but I did it. I can sense I'm going to have a difficult time getting over this relationship. I have to do it. I got no choice. And going back to him is not a choice. Lastly, for the commenters who wished me and pointed out a few reasons for his behavior and how it was not acceptable for him to treat me this way, I would like to sincerely thank you. It has been an eye-opener. Truly, some of the comments were funny and made me laugh a bit, which felt like a break from all the pain. Thank you, kind strangers. Wish me luck in my master's applications. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Don't date men who are threatened by your success. Don't date men who give you the silent treatment. If he hasn't spoken to you in 2 weeks, he is not your boyfriend. He is a child throwing a temper tantrum, and he is your ex. The advice would be to move on and not take him back, because he's going to come back to you. He expects you to beg and plead for his forgiveness, as if you did something wrong. Comment 2. This is not your boyfriend anymore. I hope you're not one of those ladies who beg and grovel for a partner to forgive her when there's nothing to forgive to begin with. He's got an inferiority complex, and he'd rather throw himself a pity party and blame you for doing well in school. If I were you, I'd just leave it alone and grieve your heartbreak. Cry to your girlfriends and start the healing process. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around after my last post. I really didn't think my story would get so much attention, but here we are. I've been reading through all your comments and advice, and it's been a huge help. So remember how I mentioned my boyfriend had been acting weird after his friend made that star student comment? Well, things have escalated since then. I found out from one of my friends that he's been talking behind my back, and it's been a real shock. Let me fill you in on some history. My boyfriend and I have always been pretty competitive in a friendly way. We challenge each other to see who could finish their assignments first or get the better grade on a test. It was all in good fun, or so I thought. Turns out, he's been holding some resentment towards me because of my academic success. Now back to the update. After my last post, I decided to confront him about everything. I wanted to know why he felt the need to go to my friend instead of talking to me directly. His explanation was a real jaw-dropper. He admitted that he felt insecure about our relationship because of my ambitions and the possibility of me moving away from my master's. He thought that by convincing me to stay and get a regular job, we'd have a more normal life together. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It felt like a betrayal, especially since he'd always been so supportive of my dreams. Or at least, that's what he made me believe. The confrontation was intense, and I could see the panic in his eyes when he realized I knew everything. But here's the twist. After a lot of arguing and some tears, we reached a compromise. He agreed to go to counseling to work on his insecurities and jealousy issues. In return, I promised to keep him more in the loop about my plans and reassure him that my career goals didn't mean I wanted to leave him behind. It's been a tough week trying to navigate this new dynamic. We've had some more confrontations, especially when old habits die hard. He slipped up once, making a snide remark about my study group, and I had to remind him of our agreement. It's like walking on eggshells, but we're both trying. I've also been busy with my master's applications. It's a stressful time, but I'm determined to follow my dreams, no matter what. My friends have been a great support system, cheering me on and helping me stay focused. And for those of you wondering about my friend A, she's been a rock. She apologized for not telling me sooner about my boyfriend's messages, but she didn't want to add to my stress during application season. I can't blame her for that. So, that's where we're at. It's not perfect, and I'm still hurt by everything that's happened. But I'm hopeful that we can work through this. I'm learning that relationships are complicated, and sometimes you have to fight for what you want. I bring my own booze to a dry party and get kicked out. But when lies about me spiking drinks surface, I fight to clear my name and prove I'm not the villain they think. My friend Paul, 24 years old, male, had a party at his house. Everyone was informed in the group chat beforehand that there's going to be snacks and soda, but no alcohol served because it's out of Paul's budget. And alcohol is really expensive in my country, so this was completely understandable. So I prepared to take my own. I didn't see anyone else at the party have their own alcohol, so I kept mine really low. But I got caught by a girl I didn't know, assumed someone's +1, who told Paul about it. Paul approached me about it. It became a whole scene, and I was told to leave, and I did. I was only a little buzzed and completely fine walking home on my own. I thought we'd talk about it the next day, clear things up, and then everything would be fine. Well, it's been a week, and Paul and a couple of other friends of mine that were also at the party have been leaving me on read. And I was kicked out of the group chat. I tried to visit Paul at his house yesterday, but he wasn't home, and his roommate said from the window that Paul said not to let me in. And Paul doesn't want to see me because of what happened at the party. Two other friends of mine, Frank, 20 years old, male, and Matt, 23 years old, male, who are still in the group chat, are still cool with me. Frank even said he had a couple of beers before the party himself, so he thinks Paul completely overreacted. They suggested I just let it be for a little while, and Paul and the others will probably get over it and realize they're overreacting. I don't want to wait it out. I miss my little group. I can't reach the people mad at me through messages, but I feel like it's just going to escalate if I keep pushing to see Paul face to face. Frank and Matt are keeping up with the group chat for me, but they've told me that any reason for Paul's extremely hostile reaction hasn't come up in the group chat. Besides, of course, Paul and the others ghosting me because they're mad that I ruined the party. I don't know what to do. Update. Despite the advice here of letting things sort themselves out on its own, I pushed to see Paul anyway. I went there with Matt, who made sure to keep things from escalating. It was not a misunderstanding at all, and nothing to do with me bringing my own drinks to his party. The girl who I didn't know and initially caught me making myself the drink was indeed somebody's +1 girlfriend. She's 18 years old, still old enough to drink in my country, but still notable for being the youngest person at the party. And she had lied to Paul that I was slipping alcohol into other people's Coke cans without asking, including hers. And she's pregnant. We don't know her motives for lying about me, a person that she doesn't even know. Paul assumed I was guilty because I left so swiftly when he approached me about my alcohol. I'm actually kind of angry that a bunch of my friends just took this random girl's word that I was committing a hideous crime and not even asking me about it first. Paul's going to talk with the other involved parties, and the other people from the group chat have been informed about the situation. I'm not yet back in the group chat. Paul wants to do his investigation first. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Everyone seems to think there's something you're leaving out, but I think there are cultural implications at play that maybe we don't understand. What country do you live in? If you're not comfortable saying, what continent or region of the world are you in? Comment 2. You said it was a big deal and became a scene. That means words were spoken, so you must have some clue as to why he and others might be mad. Why are you not explaining this? We cannot offer any kind of helpful advice if you are not being honest with us. Now, for the update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I've got to say it's been a chaotic couple of weeks. I thought things would have cooled down by now, but boy, was I wrong. So I pushed to see Paul anyway, despite everyone's advice. I couldn't just sit around and wait for things to blow over. Matt came with me to make sure that things didn't get out of hand. When we got there, it was clear that this wasn't just some simple misunderstanding about me bringing my own drinks to his party. Turns out, the girl who caught me with the alcohol, the one I didn't know, had spun a whole story to Paul. She told him I was slipping alcohol into other people's drinks, including hers, and she's pregnant. I couldn't believe it. Why would she lie about something like that? And why would my friends believe her over me? Paul had been avoiding me because he thought I was guilty. He said the way I left the party made it look like I was trying to escape. I tried to explain that I left because I was embarrassed, not because I had done anything wrong. But the damage was done. The trust between us was broken. I was angry, really angry. How could my friends just take the word of someone they barely knew over mine? We'd been through so much together. Remember that time when Frank got into that fight at the bar, and I was the one who stepped in to calm things down? Or when Matt's girlfriend broke up with him, and I spent the whole night talking to him, making sure he was okay. After all that, they still chose to believe a stranger over me. Paul said he was going to talk to the others and try to sort things out. He promised to get to the bottom of this girl's motives for lying about me. But I wasn't back in the group chat yet. Paul wanted to do his investigation first. In the meantime, Frank and Matt were keeping me updated. They were still on my side, which was a small comfort. Frank even admitted that he had a few drinks before the party himself. So he knew I wasn't the only one bending the rules that night. But the heartbreak came when I found out that not everyone was so forgiving. Some of our friends were still siding with the girl, saying that I should have respected Paul's rules about no alcohol. They said that by bringing my own drinks, I had disrespected him and his house. It felt like a slap in the face. The confrontation with Paul was intense. He was hurt that I had gone against his wishes, and I was hurt that he didn't trust me. We'd been friends for years, ever since we were kids playing soccer in the park. We'd supported each other through everything, family issues, breakups, you name it. And now this? The worst part was seeing how this whole mess was affecting our group. We used to be so close, always hanging out, always there for each other. Now it felt like we were falling apart. The group chat was full of tension, with people taking sides and arguing about who was right and who was wrong. And then, just when I thought that things couldn't get any worse, they did. One night, Matt called me, sounding panicked. He said that after Paul had talked to the girl and her boyfriend, they admitted that she had made up the whole story. She wasn't even pregnant. She had lied about everything. I was vindicated, sure. But the damage was done. The trust in our group was shattered. Some friends apologized, but it wasn't the same. The easy camaraderie we once had was gone, replaced by awkward silences and forced conversations. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.